As I record this, it's just a few hours before Walter Isaacson's much anticipated biography of Elon Musk comes out on the 12th of September. And related to that, Elon Musk says once again that AI and robotics are going to be Tesla's future. Let's take a look. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. It is good to be back home again, but boy, I'm going to miss Vancouver. It was lovely, and it was much cooler than Georgia too, so it was a big difference in temperature when I came home. I was like, oh gosh, it's painful here. Anyway, without further ado, I want to touch on this tweet from Elon from earlier today as I record this, September 11th, and 9/11 is the kind of thing, it was kind of weird. I was doing a red eye, so I left on the 10th, but then my Toronto to Atlanta flight this morning was on 9/11, and I was like, yeah, so it was probably best I didn't think about it too much. But anyway, I'm definitely old enough to remember that well. But here you can see Alex up here saying, for many years, I've called analysts fools in terms of their Tesla understanding and reasoning for having no clue what they were talking about. But today I have to give credit where credit is due. And then he goes on and talks about the Morgan Stanley report. That's a recent one where they talk about Dojo. They talk about AI as a service. They talk about the ROBOTAXI. It's actually a very, very good report. Stephen, Mark Ryan, and others have done a really, really excellent job of breaking down this report, so I'm not going to touch on that too much. What's interesting to me here, of course, is Elon's response to this, which says almost all of Tesla's value long-term will be from AI and robots, both vehicle and humanoid. So he is including cars, of course, obviously, and obviously also Optimus, the Tesla bot, but primarily what he's talking about here is AI, about these robots being controlled by artificial intelligence and being able to operate on their own, whether that's a car that drives on its own completely, right? So you have full self-driving, version 12. I've done a ton of videos on that stuff. If you haven't seen those yet, you should definitely check them out. Whether you're talking about that or whether you're talking about humanoid robots that are interacting and, getting you some coffee or getting you your cool Cybertruck mug, I don't know, whatever it is, that they go do something for you. They do tasks, they work in a factory, they work around the house, they take care of people, whatever it is, they're going to need extremely good and extremely efficient artificial intelligence. More on that in a minute, but first I want to fill you in on a journey I've been taking over the past year, cutting out sugar, doing better exercise, eating better, and of course drinking AG1 as part of the foundational nutrition that I take in every single day, packed with 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics, adaptogens. It tastes great, it's really sweet, but actually it has no added sugar in it, so it's great for my no added sugar diet. Plus, I found since taking AG1 that I have so much more consistent energy. I don't have those caffeine and sugar highs and crashes. I just have a good, consistent amount of energy through the day. Plus, AG1 helps control free radicals and reduce the visible signs of aging. And actually, since I knew I'd be talking to you about AG1 today, I've put off drinking it until now, and I've kind of missed it, so here goes. Absolutely delicious. It's got a hint of pineapple in it, and I really love drinking it every day, either straight up or as part of a really delicious fruit or vegetable smoothie. So are you looking to turn around your dietary and health habits? Then I highly suggest adding AG1 to your routine. And if you click my link in the description, you get 5 free travel packs and 1 year supply of vitamins D3 and K2. So what are you waiting for? I'll tell you what, today I feel a whole lot better than I did a year ago, and AG1 is a big part of that. And if you want to start feeling better too, just click my link in the description, get yourself some AG1, improve your foundational nutrition, and start feeling better soon. Thanks so much to AG1 for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back to it. And so, of course, that brings us back to the photograph that I looked at in the video from a couple of days ago. You can check that out up here if you're interested. Anyway, this is Franz von Holthausen, who is the lead designer at Tesla for, oh gosh, when did he get hired? It's been a long time, like at least 10 years and maybe a little bit longer than that. I'm a little hazy on exactly when he got hired. But anyway, he is standing in front of what is becoming more and more evidently some sort of mock-up of the Tesla ROBOTAXI / next-gen vehicle / Model 2, whatever you want to call it. This version is clearly made out of cardboard, some sort of heavy cardboard or something. Clearly a mock-up so that you can see it life-size. You can basically, it's like a model. It's like building a little model, but building it life-size. And of course, as I noted in the previous video, you've got 2 wheels up here. You've got potentially 1 wheel back here, or maybe 2 that are right on the outside. But whatever that is, this is a very, very much compressed space in the back versus the 2 full seats in the front. You've got enough room for 2, I can't tell if these are full-size suitcases or whether they're the ones that fit in the oversized bin in the airplane. I'm not exactly sure. It's a little hard to tell. And then what looks like a camouflage backpack back here. So it's showing off the amount of room, the amount of storage space, but also, kind of giving an indication. Someone pointed out that they thought that this was the back seat of a Model 3, and that is possible, actually. But I think it might be even narrower than that, because you can actually sit 3 people in the back of a Model 3. This one looks like 2 flat out. I don't think you're going to fit 3 people in this front seat. So anyway, this is clearly a very, very small car. And I thought that the odds were not that high that this was going to be the next gen vehicle for the globe, but I could be wrong about that. And of course, the reason for that is a leaked photograph from Walter Isaacson's book, supposedly. Haven't seen it myself yet. So again, take this all with a grain of salt, but this is some sort of next gen vehicle mock-up design or something. Really, really interesting. It's similar to the one that we saw, the one that Franz was standing next to, but a more sleek and elegant design. It's much more smooth. The curves are smoother. You can see the seats are kind of a nicer seat. They're not this sort of like straight up and down sort of thing. Interestingly enough, I did a video on the new McLaren hybrid that just came out at the Fully Charged live show from Vancouver. I'm going to post that soon, but they have these really nice high-end seats that actually look kind of like this. So really interesting how that works. Also of great note is the fact that the doors are gull wing doors. They're not standard opening doors. Number one, that allows people to get in and out of the vehicle more easily. With a small vehicle, it can be difficult. Even the Model 3 can be a little bit of a challenge for an older person like me now to get in and out of. So you can see that a gull wing door would be better. You'd have more room, so you don't have to like do this sort of tuck and roll sort of thing as you come out. But one of the other aspects of this was that one of Walter Isaacson's recent articles was about the design process of building these things. And one of the questions that came up was, if the person leaves the door open, in other words, this is a robotaxi, you call it up, you drive it to wherever you're going, and then you open up the door and you get out and you leave and you don't close it. Well, how does the car actually handle that? Here, what you've got is a situation where you can definitely tell that the car would be able to close its own door because it's a gravity assist sort of situation. More like a trunk or a hatchback where you have a motor that pushes it up, then the motor can close it again. Or worst case scenario, you've got gravity here because it's resisting gravity, and you release it and it falls, and it will close on its own, hopefully with a not fall, but will ease itself down. But anyway, this would solve one of those big problems, which is how do you close a sideways opening door if the passenger gets out of the car and chooses not to close it or forgets about it or something like that. This would solve that problem and also allow a lot more room for the person to get in and out. It also appears that it's got, again, glass everywhere. So it's a very sort of open feel, even though it's a very small car. And then just for fun, I dug up this old picture of Franz with the Model S. I believe this is the original model, but you can see half of it, like over here, is very, very primitive. It looks like it's actually kind of a clay model or something. And then the front half is much more polished and everything. But clearly you've got the Model S doors and everything, and it looks like it's got that sort of Snoopy nose on it. So it looks like an original design. So you can see the sort of conceptual design work that goes on previous to actually building the car. And so you can also then kind of take a look at this, and you can sort of sense how that would relate to this and how close it actually might be, because this is pretty close to what the Model S actually looked like in 2012. So I'm going to move myself up into this corner for a minute just to show this. This is clearly not a standard 4-wheel vehicle. If it does have 4 wheels, the 2 in the back are very, very close to each other. It looks very strongly like an Aptera or something that just has 1 wheel in the back. You can also see that the front wheels have extreme aerodynamic hubcaps on them, or whatever that is. They're very flat. They should very much be able to cut through the wind. The back tire doesn't really have to deal with that because it's actually it's inside the car, so that it's not actually creating a lot of drag back there. It's actually in the slipstream. And then, of course, if we look at this back section, it's rather attractive. It's curved and everything, but very clearly also a hatchback. So the idea would be 2 passengers and 2 people's worth of luggage for a trip for a week to wherever from the airport, or whatever sort of other combination you want. One thing that's really interesting here is that it's pretty evident that these seats do not fold down. So this vehicle is not designed to push the seats down and have a whole bunch of room, like a hatchback, where you could put the seats down because you don't need a driver. So you could just load it up with stuff and have it drive to someplace and drop it off. So it does not look like it's designed for that. It looks like it's designed that those seats are pretty much permanent, and that's where they're going to be, and that's how they're going to operate. And then the one further thing, even though this is a black and white picture, obviously, is that we're looking at something that really looks like it is stainless. It's not something that is probably going to be painted. Although, of course, if you look at this original, that looks very much silver as well. But this definitely looks like it has a lot of that Cybertrucky sort of feel, which would also make sense because Walter specifically in the biography said that it had a Cybertruck sort of feel. So this has got that sort of Cybertruck sort of feel. If it doesn't have paint, if it does have stainless steel, that removes a lot of the cost of manufacturing the vehicle and the paint shop and everything. And then finally, let's look at this teaser image from Tesla Investor Day from a few months ago. And you can see that this is their next generation platform. And they kind of gave you a sense of what it looks like. It's a tease, of course. It doesn't necessarily have to be related to reality, but Tesla does like to tease stuff that ends up being real in the end. But you can see if this is related to this one, that there is more curvature to it, right? In the front, more of a traditional hood. This one is much more just a continuous line, again, much more like a Cybertruck. This has a more continuous hood, has a definite roof line and everything, and a more traditional hatchback look. And it is possible that this is only a two-seater, but this looks like it could be a four-seater. But anyway, this version looks smoother than the version that we were looking at. Now, of course, the question becomes, what is the timing of all this? Is this image earlier than this image, or is this image earlier than this image? What is the latest one? What is hewing more closely to what they're actually going to build at this point? And honestly, Tesla is working on production and everything right now. So a lot of this stuff is probably still up in the air, and they probably will change it as they work on the production. So in the end, what is my take on all of this? And my take will probably be wrong because that's just the way it goes when you're speculating. But my take on this is that this model is too small for the Western market. It is something, again, like I said in the video where I talked about this image where Franz is actually standing next to it, which is very, very similar and everything, except the seats are not nearly as nice as the render. But anyway, this looks to me like a vehicle that's designed for the Indian market, for the Malaysian market, for the Thai market, possibly countries like Japan, etc. Maybe Europe. I don't know about that as much, but this looks like a city driver that's designed to be less than $25,000. It's designed to be something on the order of $15,000 to $20,000, which fits into a market that's very, very inexpensive. People are very, very price conscious in those markets, and yet it's still, especially if it's made out of stainless steel, it will be a very, very safe vehicle. And Elon has said over and over again that Tesla's not going to make an unsafe vehicle. The three-wheel design aspect of it is a little bit wonky, right? That makes it much more tippy. But of course, if you put the battery pack down at the bottom down here, you're going to make a vehicle that's very, very hard to tip over. It's going to have a very low center of mass, and it really doesn't have a lot of other stuff. And you can see from all of these renders and everything that there's no steering wheel, there's no real dashboard or anything like that. It's designed to be a very open cockpit, and it's designed to be a taxi, not to be a car that you actually drive. And one final little Easter egg here. This is from Bradford Ferguson, who, by the way, is the company Rebellionaire, which is the company that I'm related to. If you see the little lion head that's next to my logo on X, that's Rebellionaire. They're a really, really wonderful group of people. But anyway, Bradford was kind enough to invite me to become part of that. But he pointed this out. He said, look at the Giga beer. So this is sideways, of course, but this is that Giga beer, the beer that they sold in Germany and Europe last year. If you look at the shape of the Giga beer, it actually has a similar sort of look to this next gen vehicle, which is also kind of fun. So anyway, could be coincidental, but it's also a really cool little Easter egg. If you look at those two together, they don't look that different. So by the time you see this, Walter's book is going to be out, and you may actually be reading it already, so you can get a little bit more context about this. But in my mind, again, I really, really think that this is the next gen vehicle. This really looks to me to be a vehicle that's a sub $25,000 vehicle. It looks like it's designed for the Indian, Malaysian, Far Eastern market, that sort of market where people really, really care about very inexpensive vehicles. They don't mind three-wheel vehicles and all of that kind of stuff. It doesn't feel like a car that is going to sell in the United States, and I'm not positive it would sell in most of Europe either. It just seems like it's a little bit too small. I know Europe loves their hatchbacks, but they like 4-seater hatchbacks that they can put their family in and everything. So anyway, where this car is going to fit in the realm of things, and maybe it was just an abortive attempt and they did some renderings and things and then they threw it away, I don't know. But one thing I do know from publishing a lot of books is when you do images, you have to pass those images through the publisher. The publisher then has to go and talk to the people that you get the images from, in this case, Tesla, and you have to ask them, is it okay if I publish this? And my thinking about this is that if this was the actual design that Tesla was using right now, they probably would not have allowed Isaacson to actually publish the image. So this is probably an earlier iteration of things, and or like I said, the next gen vehicle that's actually coming after the next gen vehicle. So do I think the quote Model 2 or next gen vehicle is going to look exactly like this? No, I do not. Is it potentially going to look a little bit more like this guy? Yeah, it actually could. So it's probably going to be a little bit more roundy. I think it will be a bit bigger. I almost guarantee it's going to be a 4-seater. I just don't see, unless they make multiple versions of it and they have one that's just a dedicated city robotaxi just to get, people around just short distances and things. I don't really see them designing this version of it to be that versatile. I think that what they're going to do is create a slightly more rounded version of it, and they're going to have 4 seats in the vehicle so that you can have more people in the car at the same time. Of course, like I said at the beginning of this video, the odds are that I will be wrong about this. So, when we find out 2 weeks from now that this is actually the exact design of the next generation Model 2 vehicle, I will be proven wrong. But I feel like even though I'm very, very strongly of the opinion that they're going to design it out of stainless steel, they will not have paint. They will forego all of that in order to save money. And it will probably be a little bit more harsh angles than this because of stainless steel and needing to make it a little bit more angular like this. It's not going to look like this. I really think it's going to be a 4-wheel vehicle, and it's going to have seating for 4 people. So there'll be a front row and a back row. Anyway, like I said, I could be wrong, but that's just, I strongly feel that at least in America and in Canada and probably in Europe as well, that's the car that's going to sell. And a car like this will sell more east of that in the world. All right. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it fun and interesting and thought-provoking. If you did, please do like it so other people can find it. And of course, consider subscribing for more of this kind of content. And also, of course, let me know in the comments what you think. And as people start to read the biography, we will find out more information, I'm sure, and more really cool stuff will come to light. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon, my YouTube channel members, and of course, my ex-subscribers. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel in any way that you can. I appreciate it. My ability to travel to Vancouver, it's a very expensive trip and everything. And a lot of that is enabled by all of you helping me out. So thank you all so much. And of course, if you want to join any of the teams, just check out the links in the description. And if you're interested in a whole bunch of really cool merch, check out our merch store. Link is in the description. We have TeslaBot t-shirts, the Tesla meme t-shirt, Success is a Possible Outcome, 4680 battery cells. All of that stuff is on t-shirts, mugs, tumblers, and on and on. So check it out. And finally, a huge thanks once again to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. Check out my link in the description, get yourself some AG1, and start maximizing your potential soon. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.